Hello and welcome to the Nexus Gaming Series Storm Division. This is the Storm Division Qualifier number 1. We are in the semifinals here. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, I'm the Crushinator, and I'm not alone tonight. I'm joined by NotParadox. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun one. I mean, these two teams, they have some awesome players. We've seen them before in Nexus Gaming Series. We've seen them before in Storm Division. So I'm really excited for this matchup. I think it's going to be a really good one.
Absolutely. We've got some powerhouse players from some CCL Academy teams. We've got Wildheart Alpha versus Chili Mountain Academy here. So we're setting up for game number 1. Let's take a quick look at the map situation. Wildheart Alpha chose first pick, as they are the higher seed coming into tonight, banning away Sky Temple and Volskaya Foundry. Chili Mountain Academy banning away Garden of Terror and Battlefield of Eternity. They're going to be bringing us to Tomb of the Spider Queen for game number 1. Probably, I think that's the smallest map in the rotation. It'll be interesting to see how these teams clash in such a small space here, Paradox.
Yeah, it's definitely a smaller map, and it's a smaller map still being a 3-lane map, but there's a lot of different strategies for this map, but the majority of them usually rely upon one of two things, right? It's usually either a let's collect as many gems as possible and kind of look towards more of the later game, try to get value where we can get value, gain some momentum, or it's more on the side of like a pick composition, something that's going to be looking for a couple picks here and there to catch slow rotating heroes or to catch specific heroes out of position. And so I would expect us to see, especially in this coordinated environment, I'd expect us to see different variations of one of those two strategies. And it'll be exciting to see which ones of those strategies these teams end up going for. You've been casting a lot of this division. I mean, is there anything in particular you're expecting out of these teams?
One thing I've been seeing a lot on Tomb is sort of a Diablo versus Muradin matchup. I mean, Diablo, they can both sort of get up in there, interrupt those rotations, threaten against the excessive terrain we see on Tomb of the Spider Queen. One thing it's the Muradin that really stands out that I see in Storm Division, because these players know exactly how long they're able to stay in, which forms of CC to wait for, and how to get out. And that's been really cool to see here on Tomb. And like you were saying, just either taking a composition to clear the waves excessively and know that they can hold those gems for a double or even a triple turn in the mid to late game. And we've also seen some teams just go with sort of a big heavy vision strat and just say, we're not going to let you turn in ever. We're going to control both the lanes. We're going to have bruisers keeping an eye on both the turn-ins, and you're just going to hold those gems until the game's over. And yeah, just seeing those styles clash is going to be a really interesting setup here.
Yeah, I mean, that vision setup, something that we have been seeing a little bit from like Sidestep Kings in CCL. I mean, they've ran like Lucio and everything, just trying to sneak from one place to the next and just knock people around so that they could keep denying those turn-ins until they can get a couple more reinforcements to look to get those picks, potentially get the enemies to drop some of their gems, or again, we've seen them up to 100 gems at one point where they have that double turn-in, but they just can never get that double turn-in or even a single turn-in because of all that delay. So it is it's going to be interesting. Some of these players that we've seen on the left side, it's kind of a mix of like a few of the old teams that we saw from last season. But I'll bring that up more when we get in here. We are getting to this draft, and let's see what bans we see coming out first. I'd imagine maybe a Joanna gets banned, and then some of the more normal stuff that we see, the Chromies, the Junkrats, the Medivhs, and things like that.
Absolutely. Hard to go wrong with a Johanna if you're going for that double, triple turn-in strategy, because the distance from the middle of the lane to the gates is so short that Iron Skin almost always takes you all the way there. We're going to see the Cassia ban coming on out from Wildheart Alpha to start things off. Cassia just sort of one of the best all-around assassins right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Cassia is always, I mean, ever since her rework, she's rework and then buff, she's been rather strong and difficult to balance because that 30 armor and that extra damage, survivability, sustain, it's really hard to get through, because with 30 extra armor, it's not just 30%, well, it's more than 30% more effective health, but on top of that, it's a lot easier to heal someone that has a lower health bar and higher armor, because your heal is 30% more effective, or again, more so than that. And so it's just such a strong hero. Hogger can do camps extraordinarily fast, and it's just rather annoying to deal with. Uther bands, I mean, that's a Wildheart favorite. So I'd imagine just here, maybe a Medivh. It just depends if these teams have Medivh players.
It really does. Like Medivh, especially at this level where teams know the rhythm of the Medivh, they know exactly when Medivh can make those saves. If you don't have someone who just knows Medivh inside and out and knows exactly when to pop those protects, when to pop those ley lines, you can. It's a balancing act, to be sure. We see the Stukov follow-up ban here, so two very sort of aggressive pick-style healers banned away here by Chili Mountain Academy.
Yeah, I mean, they are kind of the meta healers right now, and you could still bring out, like, I mean, BBJ would want to bring out, like, a Brightwing, but we see the Tychus being picked up first, and a very strong hero at the moment. W, that grenade build is dominant, but Ryokai has been testing about a few different builds, so we'll see what he ends up going with here. Joanna, like we mentioned, if she's not banned, she's one of the best heroes for both variations of those comps. She can pick up a lot of the soak, and the Junkrat was another one that we mentioned. If he doesn't get banned, he's probably going to get picked. So nothing too unusual from either of these teams yet. I'm still curious about that Medivh being open and available, just because of the amount of potential he brings to a game, even on a map like Tune the Spider Queen.
It'll be interesting to see if Wildheart Alpha chooses to pick up the Medivh into that Junkrat. So those mines can disrupt your portaling back and forth if they're set up ahead of time. Instead, it's going to be an Oriole Diva coming on out here from Valimar and Drunk Dwarf. Oriole pickup interesting here. Wonder if it's going to be the Tychus battery or possibly a different frontliner as the battery, opposed to some of the higher wave clear assassins that we often see paired with Oriole.
So there is a build with Oriole that's been kind of tested back in the past, and it's kind of coming back a little bit. Like you said, it's kind of a frontline battery. You take the talent where the damage that they take and the damage that they deal will give you energy. And then you also take the talent where your W also does damage, and that gives you back energy as well. So you only really heal frontline, and you'll put it on a frontliner that can take a lot of damage and deal a lot of damage. And the old strategy was to use it with Sonya, but I think it could potentially work with Diva. Another possibility is Nazeebo. This is a map that generally gets level 20, and Nazeebo does two really cool things with Ariel. One, he has sustained damage that hits a ton of people, so it's very easy energy bars. But two, zombie wall actually counts as a real wall. So if you do get a zombie wall on someone, then she can smack him into the wall and do a big stun on that target and a huge amount of burst damage. So that's also another potential that we can see. On the side, we see that Joe Anduin combo, Blessed Shield into Light Bomb, or Falling Sword into Light Bomb, both very high synergy. Great for jumping in there, getting some huge stuns. And then we see Mysticles taking his Urel for a little bit more control in the fights. I mean, again, so far, very strong draft coming out on the side of Chili Mountain Academy.
Chili Mountain Academy, a ton of displacement opportunity right now. Johanna, Junkrat, Urel. The response is going to be Diablo by Winterheart, and Enigmatic is going to come in on the Deathwing. Now, it could be, like you said, maybe it's that Diva battery alongside Oriole, because Oriole's not going to be able to put that hat on Deathwing.
Nope.
I'm wondering...
Yeah, you're completely right.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Diablo dishes out enough even damage to really be that battery, so it could be a rotating Diva here for Wildheart Alpha. Chili Mountain Academy, how are they going to round this out? It is going to be the Grey Mane to try to respond to that very healthy front line of Wildheart Alpha here.
I think Grey Mane's a pretty good option for this. Their choices were really, do we want to try to match how tanky they are, or match their front line? But they have so much anti-front line that they can't really just run with like a Ragnaros or a Malthael. So Greymane gives them the answer to at least be able to pick one target, even if it's a tanky target, and potentially blow up that target. Junkrat can knock someone into their team. With Cursed Bullet, they can take out a single target. And against AoE, they still have their Anu and Johanna combos, followed up with the Riptire, to potentially blow up like the Tychus and the Ariel. As far as the battery, I do believe it's probably just going to be a D.Va battery. They could use the Tychus as a battery to an extent. Grenades are okay for that, but it's not great. So I'd imagine he's just going to go that more frontline oriented build and keep up with that. But overall, I mean, is there any team you're leaning towards now that we see these drafts?
I really like this this comp coming out from Chili Mountain Academy. I'd like the displacement opportunity. Tychus is going to have a really tough time stepping up and dealing damage without having, Oriel jumping behind them, Junkrat putting a mine behind him. So I like the wave clear, the long distance wave clear coming on out here from Chili Mountain Academy. But Diablo Deathwing D.Va right up in their face. I don't know if they're going to be able to handle that.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's definitely going to be a tricky one. But with that all being said, on the left side, we have Wildheart Alpha. We have Valimar playing Ariel. We have Drunk Dwarf on D.Va. We have Winterheart on Diablo. Ryokai playing Tychus. And Enigmatic playing Deathwing.
On the right in the red, Chili Mountain Academy, BKB is going to be playing the Johanna. JTR on Junkrat. Noah is playing the Greymane Tempest on Anduin. And down there in the bottom lane, Mysticles on the Yrel.
So as this map starts, for those of you that are just getting into the competitive environment and curious about how this usually plays out, as this map starts, the first usually 4 or 5 levels is just the teams rotating between middle and top, trying to gain as many gems as possible, looking for opportunities for more value by CCing any particular targets, maybe looking for picks to reduce the amount of gems the enemy team has, and they usually will not look to get their camps immediately. Most teams will try to look to get value in the lanes earlier and potentially take the neutral siege camp down in the bottom lane. As they start reaching a turn in, this is where all the teams start adjusting their strategies to going to whatever they kind of want to do. And so that means that what they might be doing is they might be holding their turn in for an opportunity to gain momentum, or they might just getting an immediate turn in to try to gain some sort of an advantage. We see Diablo immediately getting picked, the mech of D.Va. That's already looking pretty huge for Chili Mountain Academy. And that's essentially the early game we're going to be looking at. Crushinator, from what we're seeing right now, what are you expecting this game?
Right now, it really looks like Chili Mountain Academy is controlling these early rotations, but as Tychus picks up those damage talents later on, as Diablo picks up those souls, those early kills and those dangerous displacements are going to become less and less powerful. And I'm really interested to see what Wildheart Alpha can do once D.Va comes up to join the fight. We were thinking maybe D.Va would come around on these rotations to sort of be that Oriel battery, to be that front line that is more resistant to the displacement here of Chili Mountain Academy. But we see Drunk Dwarf actually down in the bottom lane to start things off, which is an interesting choice here.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that they're going with the route that they're going with. I figured they would have just thrown Deathwing in the bottom lane. He wouldn't be able to get a lot of work done, but these days people run a pretty late game Deathwing anyways, so even if he doesn't join the team, it's not a big deal. Because most people usually just run Deathwing in Q build, which is the build that he's going currently, and they just wait until level 16 and they abuse the interaction with Infernus at level 4 as well as the conflagration talent at level 16. And it's just one of those things that it's like he's not going to be that scary until then. So I guess my concern is, why do you think they went with this lane direction rather than having the D.Va with their team and the Deathwing in the soul lane?
It could... My best guess is that, Yrel does a deceptive amount of damage. Deathwing's a pretty easy target. It could be that they just wanted to make sure they were catching as much soak as they possibly could with that D.Va in the early going, just relying on their late game presence in order to win this game. And being, the more I look at this Chili Mountain Academy comp, the more I see they are able to get ahead early. They've got great early game control, they've got great early game damage, but the later game seems like it's going to be favoring Wildheart. So I think putting D.Va down in that bottom lane possibly buffers that early game for Wildheart Alpha here.
I could agree with that. I think that's a solid option for them. You know, seeing that they're running Deathwing, it kind of reminds me of the other Wildheart team, the Wildheart CCL. They actually run Deathwing along with Leoric for that Entomb into Q build, and I'm looking at this and I'm realizing Deathwing loses a lot of his value when you don't have a guaranteed lockdown that forces everyone into a spot for about 2 seconds. And do you think that's going to hold them back with a Deathwing, or do you think they can maybe get around that on a map like this? Because there are a couple tight spots, especially in these little hallways, if they can chase people through there. But I'm wondering, what do you think is going to be their best way to get value out of that build on Deathwing?
I think you're right. There are a couple of tight spots here on Tomb of the Spider Queen, as Valimar actually getting blown back there. Great job by GTR throwing out that mine. Drunk Dwarf could be in trouble here too. Mystically with that smack into the wall. Looks like it's going to be a triple kill, possibly quad. Ryokai knocked back by JTR as well. Junkrat having an absolute field day out there. Very, very nice. But talking about this Deathwing, normally, I say normally, sometimes you get the opportunity to get, that Leoric Entomb where people are just trapped in there. No matter where they are, nowhere to go. And Tomb of the Spider Queen, while having those corridors, you don't necessarily have to fight in particular corridors. I think they may have the opportunity to bring that Molten Breath damage with an Oriole and Diablo stun combo into one wall. That is, that's a good 2-3 seconds where you've got a player in one spot. Though, with Anduin on the side of Chili Mountain Academy, that might not be as reliable as it seems.
Yeah, I could definitely see it is one of those challenging moments, and that is the challenge. Is like you could have the I apologize. We've got a lot going on right now. They are diving in. They've got their level 10s first, and they are getting these ults. They've got a bunch of CCs. Tempest is following up every single stun that BKB brings out, and he's following these up with his root. Followed up by the root is oftentimes they've got the Blessed Shield Light Bomb whenever they want to use it. And on top of all of that, they're just going to Riptire. And this advantage, even though their early game might be a tad weaker, it's just this advantage that they've gotten so far from just playing this map really well that's allowing them to just walk through the enemy team. They've got one turn in and they've got another turn in available. And I mean, I feel like this is another potential stagger. Enigmatic goes
going in there. Wow, getting right back to full health though. Gonna force Chili Mountain Academy to back off. Mysticles has to get saved. Popping the Ardent Defender at the same time, unfortunately. But, a life is a life. And Chili Mountain Academy is going to escape here.
Yeah, I mean, this was a wild setup. No, I'm just saying that was a wild fight, wild setup. But these, what I want to say is that Chili Mountain Academy is playing clean. Like, they know when to go in, they know when to get out. They're not taking a lot of risks. They're just playing to the strengths of their comp. And I think the only thing they need to be concerned about is if there is a long drawn out fight in the late game. But if they don't ever get to the late game, I think they're gonna just dominate.
Chili Mountain Academy looking very strong so far. So far, JTR has been able to do pretty much whatever he wants. There's not a lot of poke available on the side of Wildheart Alpha. They've really got to rely on being able to walk in and use those flanks, and they just haven't had the opportunity to take that sort of fight so far, as Enigmatic getting put right down to half health here by that cursed bullet from Noah. And we've got our first blue Webweaver phase of the game. Wildheart Alpha going to try to even out this map a little bit, as they do have their 10s available. They could see these fights start to turn around.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Winterheart keeps looking to make opportunities for his team. They do have that turn-in. Now, the opposing team, Chili Mountain Academy, they have a turn-in ready whenever this objective's over. And as long as they can clean up this objective rather quickly, which is exactly what's happening, Mysticles is going to handle bot lane, and then they're just going to rotate down to mid. But there is a bit of a play. BKB does have to use his Blessed Shield to get out. He's already used his trait. Now the pull goes out, but an APOC that was meant for Anduin ends up grabbing the Joanna, and they're not able to pick up the extra gems from that Joanna either. So they still have a turn in, and they still have a level lead, and this is a talent tier lead. But this is still a pretty good push coming out from Wildheart Alpha.
Wildheart Alpha, they found their advantage. They're going to try to even up these levels. Oriole put the Crystal Aegis save onto Winterheart, but there's JTR with the bomb right on time. That's going to be a soul reset onto Diablo. Enigmatic going to use that Cataclysm to try to get on out of there. Ardent Defender coming in from Mysticles just to let them know that I'm here and I'm ready. And it looks like Chile Mountain Academy thinking about going back in. Oh, Mysticles, got to be careful there. Valimar with a great whip. And it looks like we're starting to back off here.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with this, I honestly feel like it's Wildheart's draft. I feel like this they did go with kind of the meta in CCL right now, which is a tank double bruiser, one carry, and then a healer. And that's one of the major metas we've been seeing a lot of. I think my only concern is that works the best on point control maps, and not necessarily when you need to get picks. And some of the synergies that their CCL counterpart runs, they're lacking those. And I really feel like if they can get to late game, they'll be really annoying to deal with. But it's such a slow burn, and they just don't have that like 1-2 punch, that setup follow up that Chile Mountain Academy needs to be worried about. We do see a setup, a combo going in, a light bomb to follow up. Valimar's already used his ult to get out. Drunk Dwarf is in a really rough position, but he is able to get his health bar back as he gets back into his mech, and they're getting him rather low again. Everyone on the side of Chile Mountain Academy is relatively healthy, and Drunk Dwarf's the only one on the side of Wildheart Alpha that's looking a bit scary. Enigmatic does a pretty bold ult right on a JTR. JTR is going to lose a huge portion of his health, ends up living, and it's just Mystically he's just denying them, zoning them out as much as possible, but he's going to get dropped down. And this is kind of my point that I was saying, is like, if they can get to late game, this comp is meant for point control, and they're, if they had to control a point, they could. My concern is, why is Chile Mountain Academy going back in to against a comp that they can't beat without picks, and they're fighting them like a comp when they're almost giving Wildheart Alpha like exactly what they want right now. This is Wildheart's game right now, as long as they keep taking fights like that. This is crazy.
One adjustment that I saw Wildheart make in that fight that we didn't get to see in the early game, we saw D.Va get onto that Junkrat. JTR wasn't able to just position perfectly, always have that mine available. Junkrat had to wiggle around to get away from that D.Va, and that allowed the saves coming in from Wildheart Alpha to be very effective. We saw the Crystal Aegis come on through, the repositions from the Oriole Whip, from the Shadow Charge, and they just sort of out-sustained them in those fights. There's a lot of reposition on the side of Chile Mountain Academy, but the executes, they've only got so many, and Oriole has been saving them consistently.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's essentially... I mean, they're going in again. They're taking a hard engage, and it's an okay time to do it because it gives JTR more times to clear up this objective, and it also gives Noah on the top lane to also get more time to clear the objective. They're able to clear all 3 objectives, only losing, it looks like, a 4.5. And they're re-engaging, but again, without having that gray main ready to go, they're going to be very limited on these re-engages. And yeah, I mean, it was the D.Va, and then also we saw Enigmatic use that Cataclysm to get in the backline as well, right near JTR. So JTR is now going to be very busy during these fights. It's going to be a lot harder for him to set up these engages, and their team's going to really need to pick their battles, or else they're going to be going against a team that can outlast long fights. They need to look for picks, and they need to look to close out this game before level 20. This is a lot of damage going out onto D.Va, and a huge knockback, sending Valimar into the team with the Crystal Aegis already being used. That's BKB taking out Diablo. Both of the D.Va mechs have been taken out here, and now it's just D.Va sitting out, getting dropped. And I mean, this is 3 down, as well as the souls of Diablo going down. This is a great opportunity for them to either go for boss or just take a lot of siege damage. And it looks like they're going to end up going for boss.
Boss will be the call here for Chile Mountain Academy. We saw it continuous just engage after re-engage there by BKB, using that Iron Skin to try to eat the Molten Breath, as we have a quick pause here. Looks like F has been called in the chat. got a mouse not working.
Mouse?
So we're going to come on
Okay.
back to that 8-bot combo. Come on out here. Noah getting the quick execute, though, onto Diablo. Great turnaround there from Chili Mountain.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, at this point, they're very good at, if they can take out the Ariel, or they can take out the Tychus, they pretty much just roll through the team. And it's just one of those things that we look at this team comp and we go, oh, it doesn't seem like they have that much damage. I mean, Junkrat's damage is all really light poke and then heavily burst with Riptire. Greymane does a lot of damage, but as long as he's CC'd by the Diablo, then it feels like they're lacking. But in these coordinated environments, you don't need a lot of damage. You just need all the damage to go in the right place at the right time, and that's something that Chili Mountain Academy is very, very good at. I really feel like I would like Wildheart Alpha's draft a tad more if it was just on a different map. I really like the idea of the draft. I just wish it was on another map. But otherwise, I mean, these teams, it's looking rough right now for Wildheart Alpha. I mean, what do you feel they could do in this situation that they're in right now? What do you think that they can do to potentially come back?
I mean, right now, I think what they just need is they need level 20. Once you can get that big red button online, you get the extra shielding from Oriel, you get that extra time for those hope reserves to come online there for Valimar. I think the level 20 fight does end up favoring Wildheart. But you're in a situation, you're down 20 to 17, your first keep is being pressured, though it looks like the defense will be solid. I don't know if you have time to make level 20 here. That means you're staying off the map for quite a while, possibly another boss play by the time you reach level 20. They're going to have to give up a lot if they want to get that fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could potentially just give up top keep. Mid keep, they don't need to worry about it all, and they already have bottom keep handled. So if they give up top keep for the trade of getting to level 20s, I think it's worth it. But if they force a fight here, there's a good chance they're going to get dropped. And right here, we see the Blessed Shield go out. We see him go immediately onto Valimar. A counter engage from the Diablo trying to do an APOC combo. Both Valimar and the Diablo get taken out. That's Ryokai being taken out, and this will be Enigmatic taken out. Drunk Dwarf can do his best to defend, but this is looking like game. While the objective is cleared up, this is still a Greymane on core right now. Well, I mean, he's technically not on core right now, but now he's on core. I mean, Greymane can drop a core in under 20 seconds, especially over level 20. So at this stage, with everyone else assisting him, this is game number 1 in favor of Chili Mountain Academy in our semifinals of the qualifiers of Storm Division. And this is a great start to this. It's going to kind of show these teams this is what we're about, this is what we need to do, and it should give Wildheart Alpha an opportunity now to look at this team and go, okay, we see what their playstyle is, we see how they beat us, let's adjust, let's change up our strategy, let's change up our bans and picks, and let's approach this a little bit differently. Because these teams, while they've played against these players individually, these teams are relatively new. I mean, again, like I said, on the side of Wildheart Alpha, this is 2 members of Regen. This is 2 members of OSD, and then Ryokai, who is on a competitive team as well. This is it's a split of a few different teams, and even on the side of Chili Mountain Academy, JTR was on I believe OSD, Mysticles on Chili Mountain. We've got BKB, who's been on multiple competitive teams, Noah, who's been on multiple competitive teams, Tempest, who's been on multiple. So they've played against these players individually, but now they get to know how they mesh together as teams, and now this is the time that they need to adapt. So, I mean, quite a game 1. I mean, what did you think about that? And if you had to give an MVP, I mean, who would you give it to?
I mean, I've got to give it to JTR there, really ruling the early game for Chili Mountain Academy. Once Drunk Dwarf and Enigmatic were able to get into the back, the role of the Junkrat was somewhat diminished, but the denial of the saves in that early going when they got to level 10 to 8, even before that, all of the opportunities that Wildheart was trying to create, JTR was just blowing up. So I feel like that early level advantage, Chili Mountain was really able to turn into a late game victory there.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that in the early game, JTR was controlling the battle, gave them a huge advantage. And the only time that the team fight started getting a little awkward is when the enemy team was heavily focused on getting JTR. And then once his team adapted and realized they needed to peel for him a little bit, he was back to getting picks and just blowing people up. And so he definitely made a huge impact this game, and it was pretty incredible. Now that we've seen the playstyles of these teams, Crushinator, what do you think Wildheart Academy or Wildheart Alpha, anyways, needs to look at for this next draft phase? Is there any bans that you would look at? Any picks that you might want to steal away from them? I mean, we don't know the map yet, but knowing that their playstyle is very slow, calculated, and more about looking for picks rather than any major heavy commitment into a fight, what would you do against a team like that? What would you recommend or expect to see as an adaptation coming out from Wildheart Alpha?
So Wildheart, we saw them pick a comp that was really geared towards getting to the late game, finding the level 16, finding the level 20, and just using that sustain and those saves to just sort of slow roll their way to victory. So I would expect to find a map that, you know, well, here's the thing, like, you've got the choice. You lost game one, you've got the choice, and it's really hard to give up first pick, so I'd be surprised if they don't go for that first pick. But with that, I sort of expect Chili Mountain Academy to do the opposite. Try to go to a map where they can end early and sort of throw off the rhythm that Wildheart tried to set there in game number one.
I agree. I mean, if Wildheart takes first pick, that's your best bet, is to go to a map that has a lot of value put into objectives. So you're going to avoid maps like Towers of Doom, where if you win the early objective, you don't gain any experience. You're going to be looking at maps like Braxis, which shouldn't be available. You're going to be looking for like Sky Temple, where if you win one of those early temples, maybe even like Infernal Shrines, where you get that first Punisher and you get a lot of value from that. You're going to be looking for maps like that where you can get that objective, and that's going to help you get that, like, further the lead that you've created. So it could be a risk for Wildheart to take first pick, but we get to see. We just found out what our map is. So Crushinator, we're on
Wildheart did opt for first pick, and that means Chili Mountain has actually taken us to Infernal Shrines here. So we've got a map where you can possibly end early, depending on your comp style. If you take that heavy siege, maybe a Sylvanas, you can end early with that objective. But if it does go late, the objective is almost all the siege that you need. That might play into Wildheart's game plan here.
It could, and this is a little bit more of a map that could work with their team comp that they ran last time. You can run a tank double bruiser, and then you can just stay on the objective, and you can fight on the objective. Having a comp that can take a really long, drawn-out fight on an objective that's relatively timed, because eventually one of the teams is going to hit those 40, allows you to do much better than being on a map that Chili Mountain can just walk away. Because if you took a fight on the last map with a slow burn comp like that, the enemies just walk away if they're starting to lose the fight. And so in this particular case, they could run almost the same comp that they ran and have a much better chance, unless they get really destroyed in that early game, which is where the challenge of Infernal Shrines comes in, because each objective is worth experience in the sense that it helps you get structures. And so it will be a tricky one, but it does open up. One of my favorite maps is Infernal Shrines because it has the widest roster pool of any other map. You can drop heavy siege. You can draft no siege, because the objective will get a lot of work done. You can draft AoE, you can draft single target, because you only really need one person to win that objective. The rest of your team comp could be drafted purely for comboing and team fights. And so I love this map just because it's such a wide range of strategies, as well as a wide range of potential heroes. So I'm always excited to see this one.
Infernal Shrines, we are online here. could be, you know, it could be the teams just go back to what they did. Wildheart Alpha, they've got a map that's a little better for the comp they tried to run, but Chili Mountain, they showed that, you know, the comp that they ran, you know, it came out with the victory. They got the early lead, they turned it into a late game win. It could be they just go, okay, if you want to play that comp again, we'll just play our comp again, and away we'll go.
No, I mean, we're starting off with similar bans. We see that Chromie ban. Most likely we'll see an Uther ban. Then we'll... I mean, it's looking similar already. The only adaptation is maybe a Junkrat ban here because he was able to control so much in the fight. Or even there's a potential of even a Joanna ban here. Again, I thought it might be a possibility last time, and it didn't end up playing out that way. But I think that's a possibility that we might see just because of how those team fights were playing out. You can still answer combos like that with Deathwing. There's the Joanna ban. And this means that they probably aren't going to run Deathwing. You run Deathwing a lot of times, not just for the AoE, but you run it a lot of times because of it can't be stunned, so you can run it against combos like the Joanna and Anduin and stuff. But we see a Hogger first pick this time.
There it is. Drunk Dwarf brings in the Knoll first pick. Infernal Shrines is a map. A lot of the pits for camps have parallel walls. Hogger can really help out with that. The objective happens to have 4 very well-oriented walls. Hogger can do some work. And Hogger right now just overall has a very simple time accessing the backline and doing more damage than you'd think that he would do. But you talk about people who can kill Hogger, the first on that list is probably Tychus, picked up there by JTR.
Yeah, I think Tychus is a great option. Karazim's not bad because he can follow around Hogger, and if Hogger ever does get CC'd, what this comp is looking like, Tychus Karazim comp is pretty well known with something that can pull or throw. So we generally see it with like a Garrosh who can throw something near like the Tychus and Karazim, and they just instantly blow up a target. We see Sylvanas and Brightwing, very good picks for this map in general. And the cool part about Hogger on this map is, one, you can rush down camps very quickly. Every camp has an opportunity for an infinite Hog Wild. And then also the objectives. Every objective also has a location that's either infinite or at least long duration. So he's going to be really annoying to deal with if he doesn't get dropped quickly. I'd be curious to see what else they bring to deal with him. But also they still need to complete their comp. They need a Garrosh, or they need a something that can bring something near their team. In this case, they end up going with a Sonya, great for the objective point, and a Nubarak, great for engaging off of the objective point. But he's also not bad. You have the Burning Beetle build. I mean, not even the build, just the one talent, and you're accidentally stealing the objective, which is pretty good.
I like that pick here on the side of Chili Mountain a lot. It looks like with that Brightwing Sylvanas, Wildheart isn't going to be doing a lot of advancing. It's going to be doing a lot of sort of flanking, a lot of saving. And we see that continued. Lunara and May coming on in to round things out for Wildheart. So it looks like we've got a fairly conservative 4. And then they're just going to let
double
Hogger
heals,
run in.
Right?
Say again?
I was just going to say, I feel like this is where Chili Mountain just goes double heals. I think is the...
We do have a lot of poison type damage. Sylvanas spreading that Banshee Curse, Lunara putting the poison on everybody. Karazim can do some healing into that, but we'll see what Noah wants to do to counteract this. Not going to be heals. Going to be bringing in the Tracer to try to go in and harass the Sylvanas and Lunara, who are almost certainly going to be living there on the edges.
Yeah, I mean, I even like Tracer for Hogger. If Hogger finds an infinite run, you can kind of follow him a little bit as he goes around and do about half his health every time that he rotates towards your team. And so Tracer does bring a lot. I think the one challenge this game is the lack of sustained healing. Now, Anubarak can handle the poison pretty well. Sonya can handle the poison pretty well. But Tracer, Tychus, and Karazim will struggle against Lunara, against the poke damage of Hogger, and against the sustained damage of Sylvanas. So these fights, in order for Chili Mountain to win these fights, they need to go fast. Or at least they need to be bursty. They need to leave Sonya on the objective, and everyone else needs to be bursty, get something done quickly. And if the fights go even a tad too long, it's going to be in favor of Wildheart Alpha. And speaking of Wildheart Alpha, on the left side, blue team, we have Valimar playing Brightwing, Enigmatic playing Lunara, Winterheart playing Mei, Drunk Dwarf on Hogger, Ryokai on Sylvanas.
Drunk Dwarf hopping for joy over there on the left. On the right-hand side in the red, Chili Mountain Academy. JTR is going to be on Tychus. BKB on the Anubarak. Noah is playing the Tracer. Tempest on Karazim. And Mysticles is on that Sonya. Game number 2 is underway here on Infernal Shrines. Chili Mountain Academy looking to advance to the finals here tonight in our Storm Division qualifier number 1. I'm in danger is the call from JTR. I think he's got the call on that, as Sylvanas Lunara is definitely going to be putting the pressure on Tychus this game.
It's scary, and it's also tricky to try and pick talents for a game like this, because at level 13, for example, on Tychus, against sustained damage, you'll sometimes go your trait will heal at the end of your trait, which could be a great way to handle the extra poke damage. But with all the bursts that's available from this team, you also kind of want to take the spell armor talent at that tier, the Neosteel plating. And so it's definitely a tricky matchup. I think right now, I feel the biggest thing that we're going to be expecting is plays around level 4s and 7. I'd imagine that both of these teams are going to be looking to make something crazy happen right at that point. Is that level 4 and 7 area. I mean, is there anything in particular you're expecting this game, Treshnator?
I'm really interested to see what Enigmatic is going to end up looking like on that Lunara, because it's a tough matchup into Tracer. If you can land that Blossom, if you can land those auto attacks, and Tracer goes down very quickly. But it's going to be a matter of who blinks first, who's going to use their movement ability, how's that Leaping Strike going to land, because both of them want to live on the flanks. They want to be able to poke into the enemy tank. And only one of them is really going to have the opportunity to hold that position. So I think that's really going to be the matchup to watch this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to be an exciting one to watch. I'm going to be casually looking at the talents a little bit, especially for someone like Sonya. We've been seeing a wide variety of builds from Sonya and CCL. We've been seeing the W talents a lot more, and that actually looks to be the build that we're going to be seeing this Sonya going. The benefits of that build is that in a front to back, we have actually quite an engage down to the bottom lane, a lot of damage on the Enigmatic. But again, if the fight doesn't happen as fast as Chili Mountain needs it to happen, it's going to be turned very quickly, because Wildheart Alpha plays so much better in these longer, drawn-out fights. It's such an incredible one to... Sure. Yeah, wild.
And we saw a little bit of a preview there. We saw Enigmatic chasing out that Tracer with that poison, just slowing Tracer down, saying you got to use your blinks to get away. And if Tracer's using the blinks to get away, that means that he's got to wait for those charges to come on back before engaging once again. So I'm really, yeah, I think that's going to be a really good matchup here for Wildheart Alpha as the game goes on.
Yeah, so as it starts, we see Wildheart Alpha grabbing the neutral camp and all of their other camps on the side of Chili Mountain Academy. They're able to grab just the bruiser camp to match, and they're a little late to the objective. It looks like instead they're just trying to get a bit of siege damage down in the bot lane. Yeah.
Down in the bottom lane, we saw Tychus and Karazim trying to get some work done, but we saw the rotation coming out. Oh, Ryokai in some trouble there. Great double stun from BKB, and that's going to be it for Ryokai. Mystically is going to chase Winterheart out here for the moment, and Chili Mountain Academy trying to take control back on this point here, starting to even up these minions. Oh, they now in trouble. Nice ice away. Valimar lands. Winterheart doesn't leave Brightwing out to dry, as can often happen with those warp-ins. It looks like Chili Mountain Academy going to be picking up this first objective, unless Hogger's got something to say about it, but Drunk Dwarf looked like they're going to dip back on out with that Hog Wild.
I think it was just he just went with a safe Hog Wild, nothing that would actually go infinite, and nothing that would get him too far into the enemy team. He just did something safe there. And yeah, so first objective of the game is going to be going to Chili Mountain Academy. And their early game is certainly the stronger portion of this, and we do have a bit of another target. And so level 10s, it's gonna make it a lot scarier, but also they have a lot more potential to come back.
Absolutely here. Chili Mountain again with the quick advantage. Enigmatic on the chase, going to get the poison onto Noah. The Blossom doesn't quite land. Tempest will allow Noah to escape here. Once again, Chili Mountain trying to get a little bit of siege in the off lane. BKB and Mystically taken out a tower in that top lane. Going right in onto Enigmatic. Mystically is trying to do some work there. A little bit Monka there, but looks like Sonya's going to get out just fine as our teams will retreat to those bottom causer camps.
Yeah, I mean, as it stands, we're only half a level ahead on the side of Chili Mountain, even though they've won that first objective. Noah's going in to try to get a quick kill. Doesn't end up getting that kill. Should be able to get out alive here, but a great body block or block with his trait, and an extra little heal coming out from Tempest, but it's just not enough. Any other healer, that Tracer would still be alive today, but I mean, the amount of damage he still brings out on Karazim is huge. I mean, it's definitely allowing them to get picks here and there. Now, they still have that half-level lead. They've got level 10s. They just don't have Tracers. So this would have been a great opportunity to make a play for like that neutral camp down bot with that level 10 lead. And in this case, we have Leap immediately going in, a stun to follow it up. Enigmatic gets low, but they don't have enough follow-up unless JTR has an extra grenade, which I don't know if he's going to have. I mean, it should be on off cooldown in about 4, 3, 2, 1. Grenade.
There
okay,
it is.
There it is.
The
I mean,
slam was
it
enough.
ended up being the Sonya, but yeah, I mean, they were able to make some plays at 10, but now both teams are level 10s. Only one pick. Very, very close levels. Next objective is going to be in the top lane. It will be a Mortar Punisher, which currently is not scaled that crazy. Mortar Punishers have the best scaling in the game. Because it's only 6 minutes in the game, it won't be that scary, but it's still an important Punisher. As it stands, level 10s on both teams. Do you see one of these teams that might be a little bit more favored for this objective?
For the objective, I mean, one thing that I saw from Mysticles there, we saw the leap coming on out from Sonya, and I think one of the keys to the fight here, Tempest, we saw the 7-sided strike coming on through. Those kills that were just barely not coming in, I think the 7-sided strike is going to be able to get those converted before Brightwing can land.
This was an incredible engage. Cocooned the Mei so that she couldn't peel for the team. Then they CC'd the Brightwing twice and then leaped onto the Brightwing.
Oh, wow.
So they're using Leap as a really powerful follow-up tool for their team. And Leap's always a risky one because you lose so much. I mean, you're losing a 40% damage buff. You're losing that CC reduction. But what you gain is a really powerful CC at a long range. Usually you try to get it from another method, but in this case, they just want to blow up whatever target they see, and they are really playing it up right now. This next objective spawn top, we have Tracer on it alone, as the rest of their team is just trying to get some value in the bottom lane.
KB trying to squeeze on out of there, will hit that Hearth. And it's going to be really interesting, like, Mysticles is on the point already. Noah was able to get a pick in the off lane. The kills were coming fast and furious there from Chili Mountain Academy. And looks like Enigmatic in trouble once again. There's the leap from Mysticles, showing the value once again. Just every leap is being converted into a kill here by Chili Mountain. And gosh, I'm trying to look for an answer here on the side of Wildheart Alpha. I don't know if maybe they've got to stay together. Maybe they can't rely on that teleport from Brightwing to be their save.
Yeah, I honestly think the teleport's too slow. And that's their best answer. I think the teleport is too slow. I think that they need to take their fights really spread out as they start, where they need to have their tanks in the front line distracting as many people as possible before they bring in their back line. Because otherwise, they're just going to keep getting caught out of position, and they're going to keep getting just destroyed. In this case, they let the objective just go on their own, and they are looking to get value out of both mid, bottom, as well as the extra cams that are on the map. They are looking for the level 16 power spike. This is a great example of, we are not going to try to close out this game with a 2-level lead. We're going to get a 3-level lead, and then we're going to look at making a major play.
Absolutely. Getting that passive XP rolling from these forts. They're now up 5 structures to 3. BKB could be in a little trouble here, trying to get away. It looks like Tempest will be there for the help. Doesn't have the cleansing dash just yet. And I think that's going to be a big power spike here for Chili Mountain. Just being able to take that slow off of the Tracer, take the slow off of the Anubarak, will make it that much harder. Oh my goodness, do they even have health bars? Lunara and Brightwing going down instantly as Hogger just hog-wilding all the way to the back. Looks like Drunk Dwarf is going to escape. Winterheart barely out of range. Oh, is actually going to get hit by the grenade, and that's going to be it for May. Unbelievable stuff here for Chili Mountain Academy. What was looking like a safe macro play has turned into a triple kill, and the siege continues. Ryokai taken out as well. BKB out of nowhere. And this is going to be mid-keep here, Paradox.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge lead. And again, this is exactly what they wanted to do. They knew they couldn't end the game with the Punisher, but they knew that they had huge level 16 power spikes. So they just went for their level 16 power spikes. And now they are just walking through the enemy team. It's funny because anything that the enemies try to do is just cleansed immediately by Kerazim. And then whenever they see a squishy target, they just all jump on him. Their entire team can dive on a target with the exception of Tychus, and all he has to do is throw one grenade. The whole team's diving in, and he just chucks in a grenade to finish off whatever target's in there. So once again, they're picking their targets quickly, but if they can't finish off these targets, this is where the fight starts to favor Wildheart Alpha. This is when they can kind of turn on these fights. There's not enough healing to keep up with this. If they can't take the fights fast, they actually do really struggle in these fights. They're taking everyone down really close. Enigmatic is just melting everyone. We also see Hogger going in as well, or sorry, Winterheart and Hogger are just going in, and they're just slowly poking down the enemies. So you take one fight where you didn't calculate it as well as all the other fights, and they get just demolished because of Wildheart Alpha's comp is so good at these long drawn out fights. You cannot take a fight that's longer than about 5 seconds if you're Chili Mountain Alpha or Academy.
It had worked out so well so far. 13 kills there, and looks like able to really snowball this map presence and really use that catch-up XP. Now only a little more than a level behind here is Wildheart Alpha, and they're going to even this up the best way that they can. They're going to steal this Shaman. Noah on the edge, making Ryokai think twice. Chili Mountain is going to be back on the field. We'll see if they can, keep the magic going here, or if Wildheart Alpha has really seized the momentum.
Yeah, I mean, level 16s on both sides, so there's no major talent tier advantage or disadvantage. We do have Hogger. He's in a pretty good spot. We have another pause. Get up to about 20 by the time that Anubarak shows up.
Mysticles thinks so, going right in there. That's going to be it for Ryokai. Brightwing not able to come in just yet. Drunk Dwarf could be in some trouble here. There's the 7-sided strike, but Brightwing does actually land onto Hogger. Uh-oh, Drunk Dwarf may have stopped in a tough spot there. Uses that percent damage, almost taking out Noah. That's a double kill here. Enigmatic working on the edge. BKB moving on back towards Lunara. And look at those cleanses. We see Tempest just eliminating all the slows coming in from May and Lunara. Winterheart still trying to work the edges. Uh-oh. That's it for Tracer, getting a little bit too aggressive. And Chili Mountain Academy, they're not done yet. Enigmatic, not caught already. Winterheart going in with the icing is going to be healed up by Valimar, and this fight just will not stop. JTR is going to retreat. Mysticles with that trait speed, trying to catch up to Enigmatic for one more slap. That's going to be it for the Forest Dryad. Look at that quarterback. Is that Titan Grenade? No, that's not even Titan Grenade here,
not Titan Grenade. No, he ended up going with the hybrid Q build so that he can go into and clear the objective much easier. And I think it's mainly because Mysticles has been just looking for kills. Normally you have the Sonya just work on the objective, but in this case they left the Tychus to deal with the objective, and they just let Mysticles just jump around and get kills all game. So this right here is an attempt to end the game. It's a 4 versus 3, and the Punisher's in the bottom lane, so they don't even have the help of the Punisher. And it's not really working in their favor. And again, long drawn-out fights are not favorable for them, so it's something they probably won't want to take. I don't know if that's necessarily a mistake or if that's kind of the same strategy that they did earlier. They know they can end when they hit level 20s, so they're mainly just trying to get as much value out of the objective, looking for picks, getting any extra kills that they could, and so that they can get level 20 and potentially try to end the game at level 20.
Looked like they were just doing a little bit of an exploratory mission. Can we end? Can someone step up at a range? It ended up being Hogger moving in. Tough to assassinate the Knoll. And Chili Mountain ends up moving back. They do have their level 20. Level 19 only just on the horizon here for Wildheart Alpha. With Tychus and Karazim coming on back in, Chili Mountain is once again in full form. We'll see if they can catch anyone on these rotations, though I'm not sure Wildheart Alpha is actually going to offer any picks until they have their level 20s. But once again, kind of like we saw on Tomb of the Spider Queen, can Wildheart Alpha actually afford to wait here?
I don't think that they can. I mean, in this particular situation, they're gonna get jumped on by Mysticles. Right as Mysticles sees Valimar out of position, he's gonna jump whenever Noah and Tempest are ready to also follow up. And when that happens, the other team needs to be ready. So we have an immediate engage, but I think it was mainly just to see if they could burn the trait from Winterheart, and that's exactly what they did, because they didn't actually commit anything into that. They still have everything else available with the exception of Odin. They haven't used Rewind. They're ready to go at any point. They are summoning a bunch of extra beetles to tank for them. But, I mean, level 20s are approaching. I'm really surprised that Chili Mountain Academy hasn't just jumped on one of the backliners.
This keep is still up, though it's low enough that they could dive in and finish it while getting a kill now. There's the lead. Mysticles moving in onto Valimar, but BKB gets intercepted by the Avalanche of May. Now Mysticles in all sorts of trouble. There goes Sonya. Seven-sided strike goes out, does not finish the kill. Ryokai able to get away from that cocoon. And Wildheart Alpha is quickly advancing here. Can May get the slows? Can Enigmatic catch up to JTR here? Trying to get the Tychus. Looks like JTR is going to get away. BKB may not be so lucky. Tempest throws out those cleansing dashes. Oh no, now Karazim's in trouble. Enigmatic has to get warped onto by Valimar, and this mid-gate looks like it's going to be the saving grace as we see the no control from Drunk Dwarf with no one else in range, looking very hilarious there above this mid-fort. And we're going to have our Mortar Punisher at 17 minutes here spawning in the top lane. Wildheart Alpha has 2 waves pushed into the core here, Paradox. I don't know how long that they can take these fights in the top lane.
Yeah, I mean, this is also a big, like, almost like a check move, right?
Ryokai's in trouble. That's going to be it for Sylvanas. Noah catches Sylvanas on the rotation. That now Wildheart's really in trouble here. They've got the 2 lanes pushed in. They're minus Ryokai. And this Mortar Punisher is going to be controlled by Chili Mountain Academy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge because you want long drawn out fights as Wildheart Alpha, but you can't take a long drawn out fight because you'll lose bottom. Whoa, that was a sneaky move by Enigmatic. He sent out his Wisp earlier so he can ult off of his Wisp so that he could ult onto the Sonya, and I've never seen it used that way, but that's pretty slick. Unfortunately, he dies because of it, but it was pretty slick. I mean, right now they're in that desperate moment. Like, they can't lose this objective. It's a Mortar Punisher that's scaled 18 minutes into the game. It's going to absolutely destroy that structure, absolutely destroy the core. They needed to make a play, and unfortunately, the play didn't work. So it's looking like they're probably just going to end up getting dropped here, but they do still have one more potential fight. And so they're going to get as many camps as they can, get some distractions, and they're going to fight over a little bit of the keep, but most likely just at the core. And this is the last fight that Wildheart Alpha really has. If they can win this fight, they're still in this game. If they lose this fight, this game is over.
I liked the idea. They were going for a sneaky play, use the Shaman camp to tank the keep, possibly go for a core race. Didn't end up working out. Lunara still down for 12 seconds here as the keep falls. It's a Shaman, it's an objective. Wildheart Alpha is going to have to pull out something big here if they want to stay in this qualifier. There's the jump onto Winterheart. BKB going in. Tyke is pushed to the back by May, but the Odin is going to start moving up and start to siege down this core. There's the no control from Hogger. That could be trouble here. That's going to be Tracer going down, but that's not too much siege damage. Core already at 50%. Mysticles is locked in, and that is going to be it here. Chili Mountain Academy with the 2-0 is going to advance to today's finals.
Yeah, I mean, they just played it calculated. The first game was extremely calculated. The second game, it almost felt like they were having a little bit of fun. It felt like they knew that they were strong players. They knew what the enemy team was going to do. They wanted to play an aggressive comp, and I think they were almost testing their limits a little bit before the finals, because they were just saying, okay, well, we know we can win against a team like this. Let's learn, let's play a comp that we might not be as familiar with, because when they did do a good engage, they would absolutely dominate. But there were a couple fights they overstayed, and I think they were testing their limits against a team like this so that they'll be better prepared for the team that they're going to be facing in the finals. But overall, I mean, Chili Mountain Academy played very, very well. They were very calculated the entire time, especially in the early game, and they structure out their fights extraordinarily well. They have multiple team comps in their repertoire, it seems like. So it's going to be a very scary team to face in the finals when we see who they're going to be facing in the finals.
Absolutely there. I mean, just looking at the drafts on both sides, I really can't pick out something that I would change. We saw, the quick blow-ups coming in from Chili Mountain Academy, but when those didn't work, we saw the comp from Wildheart Alpha really come online. Once they got that save, the constant slows coming in from Lunara and May, the dive ability of Hogger, and just the sustained damage from Sylvanas Lunara completely overwhelmed Chili Mountain Academy when they got the opportunity to do it. But being able to kill a target before that Brightwing teleport landed was really the key there, I thought, to Chili Mountain's success.
Oh, yeah. And this is kind of, it brings me a little bit back to HGC. There was a conversation I was having with a couple of the pro players back in HGC, and they were just saying, they're like, we don't really like the meta where it stands, because any tiny little mistake and a target, it just explodes. And this kind of reminded me of that a little bit, watching anytime that Valimar stepped up a little too much, or anytime that Enigmatic stepped up just a little bit too much, they instantly blew up. And that's the coordination that I expect to see more of coming out in Storm Division as well as CCL, because that still exists in Heroes of the Storm. In fact, there's probably more damage potential and less cleanses than there were in HGC. So I expect this to be kind of a foreshadowing of what we're going to be seeing throughout all of CCL and Storm Division from this point on, is this style of play. Maybe not committing your entire comp into it, but if we saw, it really only ever took the Tracer and the Sonya to blow up a target. So only really draft two things, and that's all that's going to require to blow up a target that steps even a teeny bit, a centimeter out of position, and you're in range of Sonya and Tracer, and you just instantly explode. And it's gonna be a scary one. But with that, I mean, Crashinator, I mean, like, what else do you expect to see throughout Storm Division? I mean, this is just the qualifiers. We have some amazing teams, and for everyone here, I mean, I'll do the thing this time around. But guys, do ! Matcherino, and click that link. Go to the Storm Division thing. Use the code Storm S1, where you capitalize all the S's. Sorry, S2, Storm S2. Excuse me, Storm S2. Capitalize both the S's, and you'll end up giving 20 cents for free. Doesn't cost you a dime. You can add more money to the prize pool by clicking all of the different likes on the side, liking things like Matcherino, their sponsors. Again, costs you nothing. You follow all those, like all those, and you're adding more money to the prize pool. And there's even some merchandise and some sponsored gear in the store you guys can pick up. And once again, it adds more money to the prize pool. If you'd like to support without money and you've already done all of that, make sure to give NGS a follow on Twitter and Twitch. And also give Crushinator a follow. This dude has been casting like crazy for the last few months, I always call them, this is the thing, and I say this in the most lovingly way possible because I love this. I actually watch I'll throw your casts up on the side all the time. To me, you cast HOTS in a way that's different from everyone else, and this uniqueness that you cast it in is, I feel like I can hear your voice casting from anywhere. I'm like, I know exactly who that is because you have a smooth voice, but you cast like the cadence of like a golf caster, which is so unique, and I think that's awesome. So I always hear that, and I'm like, that's Crushinator right there. So guys, make sure to follow him. You've got, he's honestly one of the best casters to just toss up while you're playing like World of Warcraft or playing your Storm League games, because he's so fun to watch. So make sure to give Crushinator a follow. Just click that follow button right there, and if you want to support him, you can always subscribe. But yeah, honestly, Crushinator, this Storm League division, or this Storm division, is going to be a crazy season, I think.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much. Very flattering. Yeah, I'm working really hard. I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm going to be casting. I'm going to be playing. I'm going to be doing all things Heroes of the Storm coming on up. So follow the channel. You'll see it all. Looking at Storm Division here, like we've got some big talent that's going to be coming on through. One thing that we didn't see today that we have been seeing in CCL and we may see threatened as the actual teams qualify, we didn't see any Medivh today. No Medivh coming on through,
Medivh
none
yet,
banned, none picked.
And
that's really
huge counter for what we just saw too. Like that blow up comp, that leap goes in, Medivh shield, whole comp's gone. Medivh shield leyline, and then you counter engage and you win. Like these are the things. If your Storm Div team doesn't have a Medivh player, that's something that you're going to want to look at for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I agree. Something that we may be seeing.
I think we're going to see that from not only the top teams, we're going to see that from all teams. If they don't have one, they're going to get one. And it's going to be something that we see here for sure, because we're out of the medallion meta. We're not seeing as many cleanses as we have in the past. So with all of that, and with that many fewer opportunities to save a target, no one does it quite like Medivh. But Paradox, I think that's going to wrap things up here. Look over at the main channel. It's the conclusion of game number 3. Anti-Clown Association versus One Direction. We're going to start up that raid. And while I do, why don't you let us know where we can find you?
Sure. My name is NotParadox, and most people know me for my YouTube. On my YouTube, you're going to be able to find the guides for nearly every hero, as well as nearly every map, as well as I am someone who's been adding strategy, testing different things for a long time. So you can follow that and find my content on there. I've got all sorts of stuff. So if you want to learn more about Heroes of Storm, make sure to check that out, youtube.com/NotParadox. Otherwise, I've got a Twitch. I don't usually go on my Twitch that often. I think I've streamed once in the last 10 months. So you can follow it. I may start streaming some more. I'm not sure yet. But otherwise, yeah, just feel free to, if you want to follow me anywhere else. My Twitter is mostly like psychology stuff usually, and just retweeting anything that I'm doing. But yeah, overall, you can find all of my socials and stuff. Just Google NotParadox, you'll find all that stuff. But yeah, honestly, thank you so much again for inviting me. It's been a lot of fun.
Always fantastic. Great to have you. We're going to be heading on over to the Nexus Gaming Series here to see the finals of Anti-Clown Association versus One Direction. Winner of that will be going on to face Chili Mountain Academy right afterwards. So head on over there and stick around, and you will see our first team qualify for Storm Division. Thanks again for coming out, and yeah, see you in the Storm. Bye.